The Heir of Ogarha. Prologue. Eluria Falls. Far to the north, in the enduring Givenchy city of Eluria, where towers reach for the heavens, Pyrrhavire stood resolute as the defender against the malevolent spread of the Deadlands. With his legendary Ragnarok blade in hand, he fought alongside the valorous warrior Princess Brynja, to whom his heart belonged. A legacy spanning decades, a testament to their unwavering commitment to shield their world from the sinister Fleshreavers, whose intent was the devouring of mortal flesh. Pyrrhavire's immense loathing for the marauding Fleshreavers was unwavering, setting his soul ablaze, a dark testament to the endless conflicts and sorrows he'd witnessed. Amid a fierce clash with the Fleshreavers, the air heavy with the stench of carnage, a chilling voice resonated within Pyrrhavire's consciousness. Its malevolent tone wrought agony, causing him to relinquish his sacred sword as he crumpled to the ground. "Come to me, mortal. Come and bear witness," echoed the voice within his mind, as the fiends converged, aiming to deliver fatal venomous bites against their distracted foe. A mystical event unfolded. Ribbons of radiant colors whirled around Pyrrhavire, enveloping him. In a mere heartbeat, he vanished from the fray. His eyes next fluttered open to a boundless scene, a cosmic crag upon which he stood. Floating in the infinite void, a formidable vortex of light throbbed ominously in the abyss. Pyrrhavire felt a repelling force within the luminescence, yet inexplicably, he and the rocky ground beneath his feet seemed to be tethered in place by invisible chains. The voice, dripping with malice, spoke once more. "Embrace the fury, Pyrrhavire. You are destined to inherit my might. Arm yourself with my power as you resume your struggle. My return to this realm is imminent, and retribution shall fall upon those false gods." Once more enveloped in the prismatic tapestry, Pyrrhavire returned to his home world, finding that the swarms of Fleshreavers had vanished but at a grave cost. Surveying the ancient city, Pyrrhavire's heart sank at the sight of the battle-scarred Eluria, a once great utopia, now fallen into destruction. He too saw that Brynja was nowhere in sight. Pyrrhavire picked up Ragnarok, which lay partially buried in the ground, and set off to explore the desolation that was once his vibrant homeland. He encountered only devastation as he searched for his cherished princess. The remains of his people were strewn about, casualties of a disaster, half consumed by voracious Fleshreavers. The once lively thoroughfares now lay silent, drenched in blood, and fractured under the searing fury of the invaders. The streets lined with homes that had once sheltered hard-working Elurian people, now reduced to debris. The majestic castle, the city's heart, was buried within an immense web. The despair that had been gnawing at his soul began to fade as it was replaced by an ever-rising rage. Driven mad by grief and frantic at the absence of his princess, he darted through Eluria's labyrinth of ravaged walkways. "Brynja," he shouted, his cries reverberating through the ruins. "My love, Brynja, where art thou?" Nearing the charred remnants of the marketplace, movement caught his eye. A fleeting shadow in the periphery. "Who goes there? Where is Princess Brynja?" he pleaded, fearing the worst. "Speak if she yet lives." He rushed toward a chasm between toppled buildings where the figure seemed to head. Pausing at the shadow-clad threshold, piercing green eyes suddenly illuminated the darkness. "Pyrrhavire," came a tentative voice. "Is it truly you?" Impatient, Pyrrhavire answered, "Yes, it's me. Now, report, what has befallen us? Have we succumbed in the battle?" "The battle," spoke the raspy voice. "Sire, the battle was lost many suns ago." Emerging from the gloom was the owner of the voice, Gradigan, once a servant of royal standing, now appearing withered and gaunt as though he'd fallen ill, his frame skeletal, his bag-ridden eyes sunken and hollow. His once royal robes, embedded with jewels and legends of ancient history, had been replaced by burnt, tattered cloth makeshiftly reinforced with scavenged metal scraps and rope, like a crude armor. Puzzled, Perevair inquired, "What mean you by many suns ago? I've scarcely been absent but minutes." "But my lord," replied Gradigan, "you have been missing for 2 months." Overcome with shock, Perevair fell to his knees. "What? How was that possible? I was only gone for an instant." "I swear to it. How hath time betrayed me so?" Despair drained the color from his face, leaving him in a dazed stupor. He lingered there, still as stone, as seconds stretched into what seemed an eternity. Then, as if struck by lightning, he snapped back to reality, a grim understanding dawning upon him. His voice thundered with urgency. "If I vanished for 2 months, then what of my beloved Brynja?" "Yes, sire. I hate to be the one to bring you such foul news," spoke Gradigan with hesitation. "Speak, Gradigan," Perevair commanded, his voice booming with a fury that sent Gradigan staggering back into the shadows of his dismal refuge. "Tell me of the princess's fate." "Forgive me, my lord," Gradigan stammered, a trembling within his gritty voice. "But they have taken her." "No. So she has been devoured." Perevair dropped back into dispute. "I cannot claim absolute certainty, sir. I wouldn't want to offer false hope," spoke Gradigan. "But if their intent were to devour her themselves, then why would they not do so here?" "I cannot fathom. Why would those creatures take our princess?" Perevair inquired, a faint glimmer of hope flickering across his features. "Their hive lies far across the desolate Deadlands. They are likely to keep her breathing until autumn's end, at which point they shall use her as a sacrifice fit for their queen," Gradigan said with a hint of disdain. Alarm flashed in Perevair's eyes. "And yet, you remain here. As a servant of her lineage, how can you stay idle while your princess is in peril?" "Alas, there's little to be done. I, along with the sparse remnants of Alluria's people, am spent and weakened," Gradigan replied mournfully. "Moreover, no soul has ever traversed the Deadlands and returned alive to speak of it." "Then I suppose," replied Perevair, drawing forth Ragnarok from its sheath, "I shall be the first." With haste, he ventured off towards the west, driven by fires of dedication, as well as a heartfelt longing to once more be at his beloved's side. "But sire, you cannot," Gradigan shouted as he attempted to chase after his lord, his withered body stumbling behind. "The people need their guardian." Turning a deaf ear to Gradigan's desperate appeals, Perevair strode resolutely toward the burgeoning sunrise. As his silhouetted figure vanished into the light, Gradigan, racked with sorrow, assumed a fetal position and wept, mourning his lord in anticipation of the tragedy he feared would come. This tale, however, is not one of Perevair. That has yet to come. Instead, our story in fact unfurls 3 months prior, within a homestead nestled far to the south of Alluria, across the vast Saffron Sea, high above the clouds. For it is here that resides the Ogarha tribe, entrusted as the guardians of the Whispering Forest. Chapter 1. The Tribe, Ogarha. Atop a towering mountain peak in the deep southern hemisphere, cradled within the heart of a thick alpine forest, the Ogarha commune remained undisturbed by Givanch civilization. A tranquil commune, nestled amidst the rich tapestry of verdure and rock, home to the Ogarha tribe. Many lifetimes ago, more than 100,000 years, Mahan, an Ogarha forebear, wearied by Givanch village life, sought respite. With his kin, he ventured into the wild allure of the mountain's embrace. There, skyward bound peaks offered them refuge, a verdant haven replete with nature's bounty. They crafted a dwelling from the forest's offerings, wood and thatch. Mahan, through seasons and cycles, nurtured the homestead of his kin, attributing to its growth. As his body withered, he ceded his labor's fruit to his eldest son. Soon he passed on, at the ripe old age of 359 years. Over time, new homes were raised as the Ogarha route deepened. This was the birth of the commune. As their numbers swelled over, generations flourished, perpetuating custom, intrinsic as the mountain air, the rite of Gusta Libera. Youth, upon reaching the age of young adulthood, at 35 years of age, embarked into the world beyond for 2 years, seeking the experiences of horizons anew. Some forsook their highland sanctuary. Others inevitably returned with newfound spouses, bringing new life to their secluded commune. A faith emerged, a belief that ancestral guardians observed their kin from realms unseen. Even as nature's generosity waned, demanding toil in place of abundance, the prolific Ogarha clan endured, staunch custodians of a legacy written upon the land by those who walked before. In the heart of the Ogarha commune, life unfolds to the mountain's rhythmic pulse. Sunbeams spill, gilding thatched cottages, bathing the hamlet in a golden dawn. The morning air carries the scent of pine and flowering edelweiss, whispering of the pristine wilderness encircling this highland sanctuary. As the community awakens, men and women step into the light. Hands mold the day with skilled grace, paying homage to a legacy of craft inherited from generations past. Children, barefoot and carefree, play amidst towering alpine trees, laughter echoing across mountain peaks. Many elders sit in the shade, weaving tales of ancestors who carved a haven from the wilderness. Clad in garments woven from the mountain's gifts, the Ogarha gather to celebrate changing seasons with music and dance, echoing the harmony of their existence. At the heart of the commune, seasoned sages garbed in woven tapestries of the Ogarha's history preside over the grounds. They offer benedictions of wisdom beneath the sheltering boughs of ancestor trees, sowing seeds of the past into fertile minds of the young. The community's hearth, an ever-burning flame, stands sentinel amidst life's rhythm, a sturdy beacon where tales and lore, laughter and song commingle, a vessel for tradition's flame. Here, the Ogarha's day unfurls in shared toil of bread-making, the tenderness of garment weaving, and the solemn craft of tool forging. Dwellings, crafted from the sturdy embrace of the forest, stand as a testament to generations past. Abundant green yields herbs and berries, while wool-shorn sheep offer bounty to skillful hands. Artisans carve wood, engraving the spirit of the mountain into each grain. Amidst verdant terraces, men and women coax the terrain to yield its harvest, their songs a bridge between world and ether. As daylight wanes, narrow paths guide the toilers home. Dwellings aglow with the day's toil vie with the onset of stars, a duel of light and shadow. The communal fire, the day's loving sentinel, casts its glow on faces where weariness is married to contentment. Night's canvas unfurls, stars in cosmic display untouched by the chaos of realms beyond. In the mountain's gentle grasp, the Ogarha commune breathes, a mosaic of labor, and an unyielding adherence to a legacy bound to the very essence of the land. Still, with every passing season and their harvests fading, the Ogarha felt a deepening fear that the day might come when the land alone couldn't feed their ever-growing tribe. As dawn painted the sky in hues of gold over the Ogarha commune, Ogarha Gideon stood deep in thought on the threshold of his ancestral home, his eyes fixed on the towering peaks that cradled his people's legacy. He looked above, seeing the thread seekers flying on high. The mountain breeze carried whispers of tradition, and as Gideon sensed the weight of his heritage, an unspoken call pushing him toward a journey of self-discovery. The time drew near for him to part from his family, to embrace the Gustalabora tradition firsthand, as many had before. Like other youth in the commune not yet of age, Gideon had been familiar only with the ways of his village, and the impending change filled him with a sense of dread. "Brother," What shadows cloud your mind? Queried Ogarha Reese, her movements fluid as she ascended to perch upon a time-worn stone. The sun has traveled far since you took to brooding upon this spot. You frighten me, sister, Gideon exclaimed, his eyes widened with surprise, his gaze snapping to her silhouette. Oh, I apologize. Reese's voice softened like the evening breeze. Yet, that does not answer my question, does it? Will you speak to me your troubles, or will you hold silent? Ugh, very well then, spoke Gideon with a burdened sigh. It weighs heavy on my spirit, Reese. The moment nears for my journey on Gustalibera. Though our people hold it in great reverence, why must it ensnare us so, offering no pause? My heart's voice seems but a whisper against the strength of our sacred traditions. Reese's voice lowered to a murmur, her eyes descending to the delicate interlace of her fingers resting upon her lap. I sense the storm within you, she whispered, the words barely escaping her lips. And the vision of your path away from us. It's a weight upon my heart as well. I'm going to miss you dearly, brother. Might there be a path, if I were to share words with grandfather and the elders, to delay this ceremony? He inquired tentatively, the gravity of his wish hanging between them. Or, do I dare to consider, they might set it aside altogether. Reese met his gaze with a blend of compassion and realism. You know as well as I, it is rare for the elders to sway from tradition, she began carefully, measuring her words. You may lift your voice in appeal, yet I counsel you to hold your hopes at bay. Your wisdom may ring true, my sister. It could well be a hope in vain. Gideon conceded, the glimmer of hope diminished from his face. Let not your heart be heavy, Gideon, Reese reassured with a gentle grin. You will be okay. His expression mirrored concern. Your words warm me, Reese. Still, my concern lies not with myself. He looked upon his sister with worried eyes. Reese's smile widened. She then seized Gideon's arm, drawing him into a warm embrace. As they stood there, bathed in the light of the sun, she spoke softly, I trust I will be okay too. A solitary tear traced down her cheek. As the first light of dawn kissed the horizon, Gideon rose earlier than the rest, the dread of departure sitting heavy in his chest. His hands methodically packed the last of his belongings, each item a reminder of the life he would temporarily leave behind. His womb mother, Mara, quietly entered his room, her face etched with the bittersweet pride of a parent watching her child step into the unknown. She looked upon his bag, nearly full of pieces of home. Her face turned to a look of concern. You grasp that treasured keepsakes must be left behind on this trek. She spoke with concern. Gideon's response bore the weight of discontent. Why must we leave behind what we hold dear? Did those who came before us truly believe in the rightness of this rule? He posited with a hint of vexation. His mother looked somberly into his worried eyes. The journey is hard, my son, but to see tomorrow, we must loosen our gaze from yesterday, she counseled, as she lifted his bag feeling its immense weight. Besides, the travels before you stretch far, and weariness will find your steps. Better to walk unburdened, letting go of heavy loads. A sigh escaped Gideon's lips. This bag's burden is light compared to the heaviness in my heart to stay with my people, and with Rai, he confessed, lowering himself onto the plaited straw mattress. And with the mothers who gave you life, she said in jest. Gideon laughed. You already know this to be so. Gideon's expression grew serious, but my heart is heavy for my sister and for our kin. The spirits of the mountains offer little harvest now, and in these sparse times, our tribe needs all who can stand and strive. As Mara approached and settled on the bed beside him, her comforting presence sought to alleviate his distress. We also carry your worries, but remember, fear is a weight we must learn to cast aside. To thrive, we must find the strength to suspend it. Your sister will stand strong, as will all of us. Your path shall bear fruit. This I promise. The spirit of the lands beyond flows deep within your veins. A realization dawned upon Gideon. Truly, you were born of lands beyond our circle, were you not? He inquired, curiosity piqued. Your words speak truth, Mara's expression danced with reminiscence. In a time of Christ's sacred Gustalibora, our paths crossed by the Spirit's design. Love, deep and true, descended upon us. In unity, we joined as one. It was she who led me to this place. And what journey did the spirits weave beyond this? Gideon queried, drawn into the narrative. You know this tale already. With your arrival, life's greatest gift, we embraced motherhood. Christ's heart knew no greater joy. Mara uttered, an affectionate chuckle escaping her as she brushed back Gideon's braided gray hair with motherly care, and smiles as she gazed into his deep purple eyes. You have Christ's eyes, and your temperament. Gideon rejoined with an affectionate grin. Thank the spirits for that, replied Mara. Their laughter coalesced, weaving warmth throughout the confines of their cottage. She handed him a small, intricately woven satchel filled with dried herbs and provisions from their garden. Carry this instead, for strength and remembrance, she said, her voice a tender whisper. Gideon saw the glisten of unshed tears in her eyes, her usual demeanor giving way to the vulnerability of this poignant moment. I thought keepsakes were forbidden on the trek, Gideon remarked, confusion knitting his brows. Mara responded with a sly twinkle in her eye. I believe my words may sway the elders to make an exception. A mother's influence runs deep, you know. Gideon took the satchel from Mara, his smile reflecting gratitude and love. In their embrace, a silent promise was woven, a pledge of unbreakable connection, affirming that no journey could ever stretch far enough to sever the bond they shared. Outside, his seed mother, Cries, a strong figure whose weathered hands bore testament to a life of toil, stood with an uncharacteristic softness in her posture. Remember, son, the Gostalibora is not just a journey of the feet, but of the heart, she advised, clasping Gideon's shoulder with a reassuring squeeze. Tales of Cries' own adventure and growth upon her Gustalibora had long been a cornerstone of Gideon's upbringing. Reese waited for him at the edge of the commune, a sentinel in the dim light. They exchanged no words. None were needed. Their connection, born of shared years and unspoken understandings, required no affirmation. A final hug alone was a silent bastion of support. Open the gates, thundered Ogarham Minas, directing the commune's guards. Cousin Gideon embarks on Gustalibora. A resounding echo filled the skies as colossal wooden doors slowly revealed a lush landscape of alpine trees which appeared to kiss the heavens themselves. Minas leaped down from atop the commune's wall and placed his hand upon Gideon's shoulder. May ancestral spirits guide your journey, Brahera, and may the chaos outside strengthen your love for our people. Gideon and Minas bowed to one another, a sign of mutual respect within the commune. And thus began Gideon's journey beyond the gates. Chapter 2. The Fading Forest. The descent from his mountain sanctuary was slow, leading him into the embrace of the whispering forest, a place where silence was the language of the ancient spirits, and the wind whispered secrets of the past. As he walked along the dirt path, he looked upon the forest, once a bastion of life. He saw that it displayed subtle yet poignant signs of an impending slumber. The alpine trees, sentinels of ages, stood less grand than they had in years past, their bark fissured, and limbs stooped with sorrowful fatigue. He gazed upon the leaves, and saw that though they remained still luminescent, they now flickered with a dimmed radiance, resembling fading embers on the verge of extinguishing. Their glow, a sorrowful shade of former glory, cast an ambivalent light upon Gideon's path, now twined with creeping shadows that spoke of decline. With every sign of the forest's downfall, his heart grew heavier. Gideon inhaled deeply, taking in the fresh mountain air. Though amidst the scent of pine, he noticed an undertone of decay gently weaved through the ether, a once verdant tapestry fraying at its edges, hinting at the unseen maladies gnawing at the forest's once vital heart. He saw flowers that should thrive under the canopy's embrace, now grew sparse, their fragrances mingled with a subtle mustiness. Ethereal spirits, those delicate guardians of the thicket, appeared less vibrant, their dance a somber waltz through the leaves and whispering vines. The forest's song, now touched by a melancholic timbre, echoed the quietude of a world teetering on the brink of forgetfulness. The choreography of ethereal beings grew more desperate, as if pleading with the cosmos to remember the forest's fading splendor. Within this realm on the cusp of silence, Gideon's fears expanded, absorbing the forest's tale of splendor waning. Each step became a prophecy to the dying embers of life that yet clung to hope. Deep within the verdant heart of the whispering forest, amid the solemn lament of the ancient trees, Gideon's eyes were drawn to something rather unusual nestled high above. Countless clusters of large, peculiar objects dangled like ominous fruit. Egg-like in shape, they were huddled together in a tangled embrace of web-like strands. Unlike the somber hues of the forest's foliage, these eggs were strikingly robust, their surfaces radiating an unnatural intensity that sliced through the cool, shadowed understory. Enshrouded in their cocoon-like clumps bound to the trunks, they vibrated with a disquieting liveliness that starkly contrasted the forest's fading vigor. Their orange iridescence was not akin to the soft, gentle glow native to the forest's mystical denizens, but rather a vivid, otherworldly sheen, a fiery light that seemed to mock the natural order. As Gideon pondered the sight, a quiet utterance spilled from his lips. "The world outside is very strange indeed," his tone a mix of intrigue and wariness. His gaze lingered upon these enigmatic clutches for a moment, transfixed by their intense heat and the eerie life force that seemed to pulse from within, before once again continuing on his journey. As Gideon traversed the diverse lands that stretched before him, his capable hands interacting with the world outside in ways he was taught within the commune, his heart carried the warmth of that dawn farewell. Through the thicket of trees, Gideon could see hints of a large, bustling Givenchy city in the distance, a place that looked quite different from the quaint cottages of the Ogarha tribe. Yet, in every sound of the forest, he found echoings of his people's songs. In every scent, the delicacies once prepared by his womb mother. And yet, the familiarities did not diminish the ache of separation. Rather, it wove that ache into a broader tapestry. He was not simply a youth on the Gustalebura. He was a son, a brother, and above all, a student of the outside world's endless teachings, expanding beyond his role within the commune. Chapter 3. The Circles of Ogerstral. Gideon treaded cautiously towards the massive stone gates of Ogerstral, the city born of the village from where his ancestor, Ogarha Mahan, had left so many lifetimes ago. The buildings, crafted from fine masonry, towered like monuments, adorned with intricate carvings that told tales of yore and city life's vigor. Each structure cast long shadows, standing as steadfast sentinels far removed from the thatched cottages of his woodland hamlet. Entering the grand city gates, Gideon found himself amidst a cacophony of accents and diverse faces. The streets teemed with people of varied garbs and expressions, unlike anything he'd seen before. His footsteps echoed a hesitant cadence as an outsider navigating the intricate circles of this unknown world. "Aye, boy, get the hell out of the way, afore ye get runned over," shouted a man on a horse-drawn wagon. "With the humility of my ancestors, I express my apology. Brahara." Gideon rushed to the walkway. The streets meant fa horses. "Not ye damned Greiker vagabonds," shouted another on horseback. The derogatory term Greiker stung, a haunting familiarity traced through the tales of his cousin, Ogarha Melexkus Dalibora. It apparently whispered the meaning: filthy forest savage. Disheartened but determined, Gideon pressed on. As he traversed the crowded walkway, strange customs and peculiar rituals unfolded before him. Merchants hawked their wares with fervor, enticing passers-by with vibrant displays of oddities. The streets seemed to come alive with voices trying desperately to earn some coin. "Merkins here, freshly picked, straight from the garden. Get 'em while the getting's good." One peddler insisted. "You there, wouldn't you like some freshly baked cranker whips?" roared another across the way. Amidst the bustling center, every trade painted the community's story. At the heart of the city, breathtaking towers reached towards the sky like stone variants of the alpine trees back home. Gas-powered lights adorned the structures, casting an eerie glow reminiscent of divine illumination. The city dwellers, engrossed in their daily pursuits, seemed oblivious to the outsider observing their intricate dance. This was not like his commune, in which everyone knew one another's name. This was a city of strangers. Within one district, Gideon sank into the frenzy of a lively square, a tapestry woven with vivid art and faux conviviality. Artisans created wonders, defying nature's laws, while performers showcased mesmerizing talents, transcending the mundane. Amidst this pulsating center, every trade painted the community's story, a place humming with ingenuity where every skill was exalted, juxtaposed against the world's monochrome beyond. In the wealthy districts, Gideon found scenes of vast opulence, mansions with intricately detailed gates through extravagant parties, their rooms alive with the rustle of silk dresses and the sparkle of fine gems. Laughter echoed over the clank of crystal glass, while the rich aromas of gourmet foods filled the air. As Gideon watched, he saw guests indulging their every whim. These displays of luxury fascinated him but also left him bewildered, witnessing how deep the roots of desire could grow in the hearts of those chasing endless pleasure. In time, Gideon discovered a district where contrivance reigned supreme. The area was alive with the clanking of immense copper gears and the hiss of steam-driven mechanisms. It was a scene straight from a craftsman's dream, a marvel of powerful alchemy, with an industrious rhythm providing a unique soundtrack to the city. He saw enslaved smiths being forced to maintain the intricate machinery by use of whips and heated irons. The gluttonous pigs, sitting high upon their thrones, watching the fruits of the labors of others fill their pockets. Diseased rats scurried through the darkened crevices betwixt the stone buildings. This city was not a kind place. As Gideon searched for an escape from this industrial prison, he came upon an elaborate messaging hub from which pipes protruded and connected into the ground, with metal cylinders zooming back and forth within. The residents relied on this sophisticated automated delivery system made up of subterranean tunnels. Gideon wandered through this mechanical hellscape. The harmonic songs of the freedom of the Ogarha resonated within him, linking him to his heritage and providing a sense of grounding amid the whirlwind surrounding him. He felt sorrow for the slaves who wasted their lives away unwillingly tending to the will of others. Though the city's architect was undeniably breathtaking, its roots built upon slavery engulfed Gideon with a sense of horror that bordered on being overwhelming, a stark contrast to his quaint country life. Upon setting foot on the city's expansive terrace, noticed a vast expanse of deep gold draped across the horizon. The relentless sea, with its waves perpetually colliding against the rocky shore, painted a picture of nature's graceful dance. Above, sea gliders soared in pursuit of their oceanic prey, their wings catching the glint of sunlight as they navigated the salty breezes with ease. To Gideon, it was a spectacle of peaceful magnificence that transcended anything he'd ever imagined, a sight far vaster than the familiar brooks and ponds nestled along the mountainside. Chapter 4. Golden Sea. Gideon soon found himself nearing the vast amber ocean, the rhythmic crash of waves growing louder as he approached a strange seaside cottage. The abode was yet another familiarity which made him ache for home. Though he knew not who lived there, he was compelled by a powerful longing to approach the dwelling. Outside the cottage sat a weathered old man, with sun-kissed skin and a lengthy braided beard as white as freshly fallen snow. He wore a flowing robe, decorated with writing that was familiar to Gideon. They were the writings of the robes of the great sages of the Erechthultian Academy. Gideon had learned of them from ancient books of the outside world he'd often found his cousin, Ogorha Brighton, reading back home. That is before Brighton went on Gustalabora and never returned. The sage with a knowing smile. Ah, Gyungshaverser from the mountain heights. What brings Yun to the embrace of the sea's whispers? The coastal sage inquired with such strange dialect, his eyes reflecting the depth of countless tides. How is it that you know I hail from the mountains, Brahara? Gideon asked with a look of confusion painted across his face. Yun thinks the city folk weareth regalia such as thine. The sage replied with a grin. Also, Brahara is such an antiquated term. Yun must be from that commune atop the mountain. I am, Gideon replied, still accustomed to the communal life amidst the towering peaks. The sage smirked, and so, I ask yet again, what brings Yun to the golden seas? Gideon responded, I suppose I seek wisdom, knowledge of this strange new world, with which to nourish the roots of my kin. The coastal sage chuckled softly. Roots, Yun say, very poetic, indeed. Yet, thine roots of Yun mountain dwellings cling tightly to tradition, do they not? Tell me, Jeong Seeker, have Yun ever felt the ebb and flow of ocean's shifting tides? Gideon pondered for a moment, his gaze drifting to the vast expanse of the sea. No, that is a path which I have yet to tread. Our roots are grounded, like the sturdy alpine trees. That is why they withstand the changing seasons. The coastal sage, with a twinkle in his eyes, remarked, the Ogarhas are sturdy, indeed. Yet, a tree rigid against the wind may snap, while those that sway endure. Life's lessons are as vast as the ocean, my Jeong friend. Gideon, both intrigued and puzzled, questioned, how come you speak with such knowing of my highland tribe? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of orange and pink upon the water, the sage continued, Yun Mountain Abode, a cradle of tradition, is a testament to endurance, and its stories have ventured far and wide upon inquisitive ears. But consider this, lad, sometimes tradition must be a compass, not a cage. Gideon furrowed his brow, grappling with the sage's words. Are you saying we abandon our ways? The Gustalabora, the communal toil, the tales woven into the very essence of our spirits. The coastal sage shook his head gently. Not abandon, Jeong Won, but adapt, just as the ocean adapts to the pull of the moon up above, finding harmony in change. Yun journey, it's not just a physical one. Journey of the heart and mind. Gideon, torn between loyalty to his roots and the allure of the sage's wisdom, asked, what path shall I walk? How might I honor the old ways yet heed the whisper of the unseen? I seek not to explore this world, yet it was a change that was forced upon me. The coastal sage's voice carried the weight of the sea's ancient wisdom. Change is a hard-fought battle, but only if Yun fight it, learn to dance with the waves, embrace the beauty of both stability and the shift of the tides. Yun roots need not be rigid. Let them intertwine with the currents of life. Your guidance has been as the nurturing rains to my thoughts, Brahara. Yet our names dance unknown in the winds between us. Gideon intoned with a formal air. Quite so, yet the most intriguing colloquy doth heed from stranger lips, the sage reflected. Mayhap it is wise to keep it so for now." As this mysterious stranger spoke to him, Gideon listened with the depth of the valleys and the patience of the mountains that had cradled his childhood. It was as though he spoke exactly what Gideon needed to hear. He was a young man no longer defined by the conservative lifestyle of his kin, but by the vastness of his spirit and the connections he would soon form. "May I seek the favor of a piece of parchment and a writing feather?" Gideon inquired, noticing a flock of thread seekers nesting in the distance. "I seek to inscribe a message for my tribe." "Of course, Yun might," replied the sage with an affirming nod. He rose gracefully from his chair and disappeared into the shelter of his abode. Moments later, he emerged, presenting to Gideon the paper and quill, as well as a vial of ink. "My deepest of gratitude, Prahara," Gideon expressed, his tone imbued with sincere appreciation. "I now take my leave. Your words beckon for contemplation." With a knowing smile, the sage offered a gentle bow. "Then might the celestial twins bless Yun, son of Ogara," he whispered, a cryptic edge to his words. Gideon paused, a flicker of perplexity crossing his features at the mention of celestial twins. Nonetheless, he nodded in respect, walking away, his silhouette tracing the shoreline against the sinking sun. The coastal sage, as he watched Gideon's form diminish into the distance, murmured one final prayer under his breath. "Yes, may the twins bless Yun journey indeed. Jeong Gideon." As Gideon absorbed the sage's profound insights, he found himself standing at the water's edge, caught in a meditative pause. The rhythmic waves played a soft melody, echoing the words of the sage. With each gentle crash, he considered the delicate dance between tradition and change. The ocean's vastness mirrored the possibilities ahead, and he felt a stirring within, a realization that his journey was not just about physical exploration, but a profound exploration of his own beliefs. Within this tranquil haven, he sunk into slumber. The following day, Gideon, under the canvas of the morning sky, sat upon the shore to pen his letter to his family. The quill danced on parchment, expressing a newfound proposition that traditions, like roots, could intertwine with the currents of life. Each stroke of the pen conveyed his evolving perspective. In the letter, he wrote, "Last nightfall, I crossed paths with a man of intriguing mien, an elder of the great Golden Sea, who spoke of our ancestry as if it should be more like the kelp, steadfast, grounded yet yielding. He professed that our time-honored traditions ought not to shackle us. Rather, they can serve as the spiritual bodies that navigate our passage across life's ever-changing currents. Perhaps I can embrace the wisdom of both the untamed mountains and the expansive ocean, letting their spirits blend and shape one another in the depths of my being. The intricacies of this vast world remain hidden to my eyes, yet my spirit longs for the day when I shall see you all once more. With love, Ogarha Gideon." The ink dried as a testament to his journey, a journey not just of footsteps but of the heart and mind. Gideon then mimicked the intricate whistle of the thread seeker, a lilting call that snaked through the air like ribbons in the wind. Mountain raised, he had honed a deft ability to commune with the creatures of the wild. One of these mystical birds, with feathers that shimmered like woven moonlight, fluttered close, curious and unafraid. With gentle hands, Gideon cradled the creature and secured the letter to its slender leg. From his mother's worn satchel, he withdrew a sprig of sage. It sent a crisp echo of his highland abode. Thread seekers, those rare avians, were innately compelled by the essence of foreign flora to trace its lineage back to the very terra from which it sprung. In the hinterlands, away from the city's clashing symbols, these winged seekers served as heralds of fate, coursing through the firmament with whispered prayers and hopes entrusted to their care. If the winds of destiny blew kind, the sage's distinct aroma would guide the bird unerringly to his mother's hearth. With a soft breath, Gideon released his feathered envoy, its ascent painting a silver streak across the amber canvas of the dusk. And so, the Threadseeker soared into the embrace of the golden sky, bearing a son's words to a mother's waiting hands. Chapter 5. The Abyss. As Gideon walked to the west, along the serpentine coastline, his path brought him to the jaws of an imposing cavern. Its gaping entrance beckoned, yet the amber waters that lapped at its threshold seemed to carry a warning as they ebbed into the cave's enigmatic depths. The air hung heavy around it, a palpable aura of foreboding that seemed to chill the very marrow. "I shall not beckon the shadows by straying into such darkness," Gideon thought to himself, his words a silent vow. With a resolute shake of his head, he pivoted, allowing the sense of disquiet to ebb away with each step as he distanced himself from the cavern's sinister embrace. "Is anyone there?" A maiden's voice echoes from within the deep cavern, pleading, "Please, someone, help me." She calls desperately. Engulfed in despair, she murmurs, "Is there no hope?" Then, with a somber tone swelling with sadness, she implores, "I pray, gods, lend me thy strength to be free." Restrained sobs punctuate her cries for deliverance. Gideon quickly turns to approach the cavern. Who treads this darkness? Gideon calls into the shadowy depths, his voice resounding off the cold cavern walls. "What has come to pass upon you?" He inquires further, his words amplifying the mystery shrouding the cave's darkness. Faintly, the response comes, dwindling as the maiden's strength wanes. "Please, grant me thine aid." Her voice, a mere whisper among the echoes, pleads, "I beseech thee." Venturing into the unknown on behalf of a stranger defied the cautious essence of the Ogarha, prudence interlaced with their very being. Nevertheless, Gideon perceived the stirrings of a change within, a shift from his ancestral roots. Time itself stalled, his veins pulsed with an incendiary vitality, signaling the dawn of a new epoch. Whispers from the past resonated in Gideon's mind, reverberating to his very essence. A tree rigid against the wind may snap, while those that sway endure, intoned the coastal sage's voice. Fear is a weight we must learn to cast aside. To thrive, we must find the strength to suspend it, echoed the wisdom of his womb mother. Gazing into the abyss's consuming shadows, Gideon faced a terror surpassing the comprehension of any Ogarha, the epitome of the undiscovered. Dauntless, he stood at the threshold of destiny. Was this the crucible meant to temper his spirit? The moment had come for Gideon to validate the fortitude and nettle of his bloodline, to embrace chance, echoing the daring of Ogarha Mahan, whose legend of him fearlessly leaving his home behind reverberated across generations. With a lunge rivaling the divine speed of the light, he plunged into the profundity. "Be strong, Wingyan. I am on my way." His declaration cut through the obscurity with the very embodiment of valor. As Gideon advanced deeper into the gaping maw of the cavern, where the murmurs of his lineage merged with the enigmatic cries for aid. The further he journeyed, the cooler the atmosphere became, moisture languorously caressing the mineral-veined surfaces as a heavy silence dared him to shed light on its secrets. Descending deeper into the abysmal darkness, he navigated by the soft, luminescent embrace of the crystals studded along the passage. Their light, though feeble, was a beacon amidst the prevailing gloom. The aroma of the subterranean world hit him, a pungent scent of decay, while the chill threatened to seep into his bones. Fear flirted with his dedication, yet the persistent calls for assistance fortified his will. The expansive chamber unfolded before him, a realm where darkness feigned retreat against the crystalline walls. Shadow and substance converged to manifest a monstrosity. Eight-legged, venomous fangs gleaming ominously. "What have you done with the woman, Iktomi demon?" Gideon's voice quivered under the beast's baleful gaze, Is anyone there? The voice pierced through, emerging from within the creature's being. Plu, 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 please, please, please. Someone. Help me. The voice of the maiden had betrayed him, for it was not that of a maiden at all. Gideon had been ensnared in the web of illusion spun from the entity's dark, enchanting power. Gideon's pulse thundered in his ears, each beat urging him to flee. He spun on his heels, primal fear propelling him forward, yet the creature, cunning and relentless, wove webs as thick as chains, sealing the only known exit from the cavern. With nightmarish precision, it lunged, seeking to ensnare its prey. As the creature attacked, Gideon darted and dove. No seasoned warrior, desperation granted him an unpredictability that served as a fleeting shield. Close calls abounded, every missed strike by the beast a whisper from death's door, every desperate leap for safety a dance with fate. Fortune, a fickle ally and deceitful traitor. As the creature lunged at Gideon, its colossal weight trembled the ground beneath his feet. Amidst the tumult, Gideon stumbled and collapsed, becoming wedged within a crevice in the rocky floor. His heart pounded against the cave's cold embrace. Above him, the behemoth descended, its looming shadow a menacing shroud signaling a precarious fate. Yet, in the perilous moment when the creature's maw loomed dangerously close to Gideon's head, venom dripping with anticipation onto his terrified face, his eyes seized upon the glint of a radiant blade lodged halfway into the creature's underbelly. Adrenaline surged, overpowering terror. With a swift primal kick, he thrust the weapon deep into the fiend, compelling it to recoil in agonizing torment. Seizing this slim chance, Gideon, fueled by raw survival, slipped free from the crevice, taking grasp upon the blade from the writhing body. With one fluid, desperate arc, he slashed across the underbelly of the beast, its insides cascading in a vile torrent of death onto the stone floor. A roar of pain thundered, a sound shaking the cavern, echoing off the walls as an ode to the creature's defeat. Then, the beast collapsed, a fallen mountain, its life essence ebbing away into the stones of its lair. Alone now, save for the fading echoes of a deceitful plea for help and the shallow breaths escaping his lips, Gideon stood amidst the silence, sword in hand. The chill of the blade's metal contrasted sharply with the warmth of his blood coursing through his veins. What had started as a rescue had transformed into a tale of survival and unforeseen valor, a conviction he didn't know he possessed until the beast forced it into his trembling hands. The weapon's sharp edge cut through the webs which blocked his path with ease, allowing Gideon's escape from this accursed place. As Gideon emerged from the shadowy gloom, his hands quivered from the rush of combat. His gaze affixed upon the magnificent weapon planted firmly in his grasp, his deliverance incarnate. The hilt was ordained by an avian motif, wrought not from mere iron, but from gleaming, unsullied gold that lent a serene grace amidst turmoil. The grip was wrapped in leather of the highest quality, offering comfort and assurance. The blade itself shone with the luster of pure, reinforced silver, lively with etchings that mimicked the untamed power of thunderbolts, seemingly in motion along its daunting edge. The sword exuded a powerful mystique, igniting a shiver of anticipation in Gideon, a buzz under his skin, heralding the sword's rare potency. Swiftly, with the resourcefulness of a man born of the mountains, he crafted a sheath from the surrounding twigs and twine, and with a decisive motion, he positioned the storied blade at his waist. He could sense that this was no ordinary sword. It was an artifact of legacy. From the sun-kissed stretch of the beach, a voice boomed, "Do you hold a pardon for that weapon?" The words, laced with authority, rang out, an edict that left no room for dispute on the sacrosanct saffron sands. Gideon's eyes rose to meet the advance of rangers, their forms etched in battle readiness against the horizon. spears in hand as if cutting through the tension like a blade through silk. "O Brahara, what trial beckons now?" whispered with a sigh. "Well, boy," spoke the first ranger, "can't you speak?" I asked if your weapon was pardoned. "Perhaps he's deaf," shouted a second ranger, nudging his comrade with his elbow. Gideon stood calmly, his eyes flickering with a serene defiance. "My hearing is like an elk, and this weapon is not mine by choice," he began, his voice threading through the salted air with a shaky resonance. "It was given to me by the spirit of this cave." A ranger, garbed in the colors of the sea and stone, stepped forward with a skeptical sneer. "Given by a spirit, you say? Hogwash. 'Tis but tales for children. You've trespassed and now armed on sacred sands. Besides, that cave is cursed. A great flesh reaver sleeps inside. Yes, the beast within the cave threatened my life." Gideon intoned, the cadence of his speech slow and deliberate. "This weapon was my only means of slaying it." Another ranger, adorned with a cloak that flickered like the surface of the waves, chuckled with a harsh, melodic lilt. "Oh, and we should simply take the word of a wanderer. You hear that, fellas? This boy's slain the beast." The rangers joined together, laughing in Gideon's expense. "I think he's been hitting the grog," joked another. "There are laws here, outsider," spoke the captain of the rangers as he stepped forth from the back of the crowd. "The drifting kingdom is not the wild frontier you're accustomed to." Gideon's stance remained unyielding, his gaze never wavering. "These laws of yours, they are not known to me. I walk a path of peace, yet you greet me with chains." The captain stepped forward, his gaze icy as the depths. "The path of peace, with an unpardoned blade, a convenient tale. You will have to come with us for judgment. 'Tis nothing personal, it's simply what we've been hired to do. Arrest him, rangers." We set sail for Marinorum. The tension between the rangers and Gideon held the beach in a silent grip, broken only by the sound of crashing waves and seagulls overhead. Gideon, surrounded, had no choice but to comply, a silent lament for the misunderstanding shadowing his heart as he was ushered into captivity. Chapter 6. The Cabin Boy. In the distance, crouched behind a coil of thick rope, a small figure hid, a young girl by the name of Kia. Her gaze fixed on the main deck of the Golden Grace, where a peculiar sight arrested her attention. The clanging of chains wove through the air as a group of rangers, their shimmering armor creaking with every stern step, escorted a young prisoner aboard. The prisoner's braided gray hair hung long, a stark contrast to the fiery temper of the sea around them. His eyes, a shade of violet so intense that even from a distance Kia felt their pull, scanned the ship with a mix of fear and defiance. The captive's clothing was unlike anything Kia had ever seen, an amalgamation of woven plant fibers and vibrant leaves that somehow formed a garment both strange and beautiful. Her curiosity was a physical itch, but before she could inch closer for a better look, a ranger's gruff voice shattered her reverie. "Boy," he barked, his head turning in her direction, not quite seeing her but sensing a presence. "Stop gawking and get back to work." Kia's heart lurched, but she maintained her composure, nodding silently and slipping away before the ranger could take a proper look. Her disguise, the man she pretended to be, clung to her like the salty air, necessary but stifling. On board the Golden Grace, life was relentless. Kia, known to the crew as the cabin boy, bore the brunt of the daily grind with a resilience that seemed at odds with her slight build. Scrubbing decks, mending sails, and heaving supplies, Kia performed the thankless tasks that kept the ship running, a shadow flitting from one chore to the next. "Oi, Kia," a raspy voice called out, a sneer audible even before she saw the face. It was Harl, the boatswain, a man whose pleasure in life came from the weight of his whip and the power he wielded with it. "Hurry up with those buckets. This deck ain't gonna swab itself." "Right away, sir," Kia said, her voice deliberately roughened to mask any feminine tone that might betray her. Grabbing the wooden buckets with aching hands, she filled them from the rain barrel, water sloshing over the sides and onto her worn boots. As she drenched the deck with brine and began scrubbing, Kia allowed her mind to wander. She thought of Moronis, her home, the place she had fled in the dead of night with nothing but a stolen set of clothes and a heart full of desperate hope. Disguised in her seed father's clothing, Kia had stowed away on the first ship she found, the Golden Grace, with dreams of freedom, of adventure, of a life dictated by her own will, rather than the confines of societal expectations. But the reality was grueling labor, the constant fear of discovery, and the reminder, dispensed by crewmates, that she didn't belong. Yet each setting sun, as bruised and exhausted as she was, Kia gazed out at the boundless sea and felt a kinship with its untamed spirit. She had chosen this path, arduous though it may be, and she would follow it wherever it led, to distant lands, to adventures untold, or perhaps to a day when she could stand before the crew, not as the cabin boy, but as Kia, the person who had braved the merciless ocean to find her destiny among the waves. "Attend, ye sea dog swags," the captain bellowed. "Release the moorings. It's time we be casting off." With the captain's robust call echoing across the deck, the atmosphere aboard the Golden Grace electrifies with anticipation. Sailors rush to their positions amidst the clatter of ropes and the creaking of timbers. The crew, fueled by the captain's command, works in a seamless harmony to free the ship from its tether. Well-trained hands slip the heavy moorings, untethering the constraints that bind the vessel to the port. The sounds of the sea blend with the bustle of activity as the Golden Grace prepares to embrace the open waters, its crew bound together awaiting the journey which lies ahead. Aboard the Golden Grace, life unfurled as a challenging and demanding existence, shaped by the relentless forces of nature and the bickering of men. The ship itself, a sturdy wooden vessel, bore reinforcement to brave the unforgiving Yellow Sea, adorned with sails crafted from heavy cloth and ropes susceptible to the damp sea air's corrosive touch. The intricate dance of sailing required a profound grasp of winds, currents, and celestial navigation. The captain and his navigators, armed with celestial maps and compasses, led the way, while keen-eyed lookouts perched in the crow's nest atop the mainmast scanned tirelessly for land, vessels, or potential hazards. The deck, the ship's bustling nerve center, buzzed with activity as the crew toiled to manage sails, swab decks to prevent slipping, and secure cargo. The ship's bell, ringing to signal watch changes, governed life on board. Sailors, craftsmen, soldiers, and occasional passengers coexisted in close quarters, navigating their duties with minimal privacy and space. Below deck, dimly lit by flickering oil lamps, the air bore a mix of salt, tar, damp wood, and the lingering scent of unwashed bodies. Seamen slept in hammocks and on straw mattresses amid cargo, personal belongings, and even livestock. Simple, monotonous meals of salted meat, hardtack, and whatever fish could be caught filled the sailors' diet. The water was rancid, leading to the consumption of grog or ale. Sanitation remained basic, and diseases ran rancid at the ship's core. Scurvy and other deficiencies plagued the crew due to the scarcity of fresh food. Injuries from rope work or battles were frequent and perilous aboard the ship. Strict discipline prevailed, with swift and often brutal punishments for disobedience or misdemeanors. Floggings and corporal punishment reinforced the hierarchical structure aboard ship. Spiritual life held significance for sailors aboard, with prayers and occasional clergy presence providing solace and guidance. Despite the relentless hardships, the crew found strength in unity, their camaraderie blossoming into vital bonds essential for their survival. High spirits sparked instances of laughter, tales of past voyages, and rousing sea shanties, which provided a welcome reprieve from their exhaustive labor. Shoulder to shoulder, they withstood ferocious storms, endured windless doldrums, and fought against the icy lashings of the ocean. Yet amidst this collective resilience, there lingered Kia, who remained apart from the mighty brotherhood of the crew, an outcast in their midst,